This video is brought to you by CuriosityStream. If you sign up to CuriosityStream with the link in the description, you'll also get access to Nebula, where you'll be able to watch this video as it was made to be watched, with full song clips. Love and hip-hop have a complicated history. Nowadays, it's not uncommon to see rappers opening their heart up to the world through verse, but it's taken the genre a long time to get here. In the early days of hip-hop, there was little room for vulnerability and intimacy. Instead, the genre's natural bravado led to love and romance being discussed in terms of sexuality first and foremost. But there's one MC who shirked all of that and dared to lay himself bare on tape: Andre 3000. It's not that Andre doesn't rap about sexuality, quite the opposite in fact. His raps ooze sexual energy, but they're not exclusively sexual. Andre has always recognized sex as an essential part of his own romantic relationships, but he also knows that it's not the only part. From the simple purity of a first love to the vast complications of adult relationships, from the spark of infatuation to the slow pain of breakups, Andre has spent his career examining love with an almost academic devotion. There's a lot of songs that you could point to when it comes to Andre's penchant for love, but I think there's one in particular that can serve as a window to look into how he's written love across his entire career. And that song is Miss Jackson. Let's take a closer look. Like many great love songs, Miss Jackson was born out of a breakup. Specifically, it was written after the end of Andre 3000's relationship with Erykah Badu. Rather than lamenting heartbreak or yearning after a lost love, however, this breakup song takes the form of an apology to Badu's mother. This might seem like a strange approach to a love song, but Andre has always been one to buck hip-hop traditions, particularly when it comes to love. In fact, a few years after Miss Jackson, he would release The Love Below, an entire album dedicated to love. In a 2014 interview with XXL, he explained the intentions of that album. Rap at the time was a laid-back mindframe. We pimpin', we players. So The Love Below was an anti-response to that. I was going for a different take on the bravado of rap to show a more affected character. Whatever your emotions are, you have emotions. And I think you can find a lot of that attitude in Miss Jackson as well. It's a song that's a complex exploration of adult relationships. As always, Big Boi and Andre's verses work in unison throughout the song, underscoring each other and highlighting the meaning. In both of Big Boi's verses, he vents about the challenges of his own relationships. Sandwiched between is an interlude and verse by Andre 3000, directed to Badu's mother. In the interlude, Andre introduces the relationship and openly hints at the sexual nature of it. While Andre and Badu did have a lot in common, Badu admitted to Complex that it was sexual attraction that brought them together. Sexuality was a common theme in Andre 3000's songwriting from the early days, and it's remained so to this day. In his 2019 verse on Anderson .Paak's Come Home, Andre opens on a litany of romantic metaphors with sexual undertones. Much like Come Home, Miss Jackson explores love through a series of rapid-fire metaphors. I think the most potent of these is the ending sentiment of the interlude. It's representative of all the chaotic forces that can put pressure on a relationship. The weather metaphor extends to the video as well, where we see Andre trying to stop a rickety house from flooding when a storm comes. The image of the house is pulled directly from the beginning of Andre's rapped verse. This picture of the home is Andre telling Miss Jackson that he once truly did love her daughter, and he did picture spending forever with her. However, midway through the verse, Andre begins to realize just how long forever is. The question of forever is also a central theme of Hey Ya, and these questions of temporality appear in Come Home as well.
I remember when you start dying them silver hairs and start hiding from your age. I X, Y, how come? Amazing how time can run away from us.
It seems that in Andre's experience, time is the eternal enemy of love. Musically, temporality plays into the composition of Miss Jackson as well. The song's beat is made up of reversed drum samples. With the context of the apology, it almost seems like the music is trying to rewind time and undo the pain that Andre has caused. The music also contains a notable sample buried deep in the arrangement, Mendelssohn's Wedding March, which you might know better as Here Comes the Bride. In the outro of the song, the Wedding March is played in an almost mocking tone. This could be a reference to Andre's own feelings about marriage. In 2003, he told Vibe, "I'm gonna have to be completely stuck crazy for me to get married." Despite having a child together, Andre and Badu never married, and he remains unmarried to this day. But just because he never married Badu doesn't mean Andre didn't love her, and it definitely doesn't mean the breakup didn't hurt him. In the back half of the verse, Andre details what happens after the relationship ends, the self-doubt and the desire to turn back time. By discussing this, Andre is showing the true care that he had for Erykah Badu. He's not just leaving her to go off and be a player, he's genuinely hurt and confused by the breakdown of his love. Andre's relationship to love has caused him plenty of heartache over the years, and that's made it into his songs as well. In his verse on Frank Ocean's Pink Matter, Andre compares a breakup to going through drug withdrawal.
Since you've been gone, I've been having withdrawals. You were such a habit to call. I ain't myself at all.
But with time, one often realizes that a breakup needed to happen. To finish off his verse in Miss Jackson, Andre says as much, stressing that a breakup doesn't mean the end of his friendship with Badu or his relationship with his son. And time has proved Andre's promise true. 2 decades after this song was released, he remains in the life of his son, and in the life of Erykah Badu. The two stayed friends and have even collaborated several times in the decades following their breakup. And as for Miss Jackson, well, Erykah Badu told the Rap Radar podcast that her mom loved the song and even bought herself a Miss Jackson license plate. Miss Jackson was a groundbreaking song for hip-hop. It was rare for a rapper to be that open and vulnerable on wax, but it also exists as part of a wider pattern in Andre's career. While many singers leave love at happily ever after, Andre challenges the entire concept of ever after, and instead recognizes that even the greatest love can fade with time. In doing so, Andre teaches us that true love doesn't have to last forever in order for it to be true. Love is a complex, ever-shifting thing, something that brings with it untold joy and no shortage of pain. By inspecting love from all of its angles, Andre has helped his listeners understand their own experience. He also changed the way that rappers approached love, and in doing so, he cemented himself as one of the great romantic poets of the modern era. The video that you just watched wasn't the video as it was meant to be seen. Unfortunately, YouTube's copyright system is broken, and it allows powerful record companies to put fraudulent claims on songs that fall well within the legal bounds of fair use. That's one of the reasons why myself and other creators helped build Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service created by and for creators, designed to be a place where we can create free from the many constraints of YouTube. That means that this video on Nebula has all of the song clips that I wanted to use, complete with some kinetic typography that I'm honestly really proud of, and I was bummed that I couldn't show you here. If that sounds like something you might like, the best way to get access to Nebula is by signing up with CuriosityStream. If you sign up to CuriosityStream with the link in the description, you'll get full access to Nebula as well as thousands of great, professionally made documentaries. One that I'll recommend is Yafrica, a documentary series that explores Africa's rich musical scenes by profiling artists from across the continent. So if you want to check it out, head on over to curiositystream.com/polyphonic. Following that link will get you 26% off, and it'll also help creators like myself continue to push for better, more equitable platforms. CuriosityStream is an awesome service, and they genuinely want to help independent creators. So go ahead, give it a shot, find some new documentaries to watch, and see my videos as they were meant to be seen. Thank you all so much for watching.